Welcome to the Digital Inequality Assignment. Before getting into this presentation, it's important to analyze two concepts, digital divide and digital inequality. When looking at digital divide, we are talking about those who have computers and internet access versus those who simply don't have computers or internet access. Digital inequality, on the other hand, is looking at those who not only have computers and access to the internet, but the type of equipment they have, their ability to access the internet, what type of internet they have, whether it's high speed or low speed, and the purpose for which they're using the internet. When we examine digital inequality, even within the developed world, we can see many differences. We can see differences in cost. We can see differences in quality. When looking at this assignment, I will be taking on the role of the Chief Technology Advisor. We've been given $50 million to address digital inequalities within the state. We also have 7 options to consider when we think about how to spend this money. This report will also examine all 7 options as well as some alternative options. In the end, we'll identify the strongest and weakest alternatives, providing an explanation as to why each option is ranked where it is. We currently have 7 options available to us. Option 1 is to install computers in all public libraries within the state and expand the hours when the computers are available. Option 2 is to expand staffing and other resources so that public schools can be open to the public after normal school hours, on weekends, and during the summer months. Our third option is to provide individuals in disadvantaged communities with computers. The fourth option links closely to number 3 by providing high-speed internet and mobile access for all state residences. In order to do this, option 5 to subsidize internet service providers to provide low-cost internet to all state residents. Option 6 is to provide information literacy courses to enhance computer skills and enable knowledge and use of digital technologies. Finally, option 7 is to develop free online educational content, giving first priority to content most relevant to lower socioeconomic groups before that content is released to the rest of the public. On the following slide, you will see some alternative options that we have developed and we think we should take advantage of. As the state's Chief Technology Advisor, I've developed 2 alternative options. Option A is to develop online, interactive public education materials that would be accessed across the state in all public schools. These materials would not just be introductions to technology or computers, but they would also be courses such as math, science, language arts, and social studies from the K-12 range. Option B would be to develop an initiative that would increase the number of blended classroom settings. Blended classroom settings would allow students the opportunity to personalize their learning. They could learn at home, when they want, where they want, and how they want. They could also come into a traditional brick and mortar building to receive traditional face-to-face instruction, or they could simply receive small group instruction, truly allowing the student to be in the driver's seat of their learning. Before we analyze the different options available to our state, it's important to gain a sense of perspective on what is happening around the world. In this example, we will look at the following concept: the need for teachers or instructional materials to teach new users how to use a computer or the internet. We are often focused on the fact that we are teachers, and we need to be the ones teaching. The following clip is from a TED Talks video of Indian educational scientist and his hole-in-the-wall experiment, showing how students can actually take on the role of the teacher.
I started in 1999 to try and address this problem with an experiment, which was a very simple experiment in New Delhi. I basically embedded a computer into a wall of a slum in New Delhi. The children barely went to school. They didn't know any English. They'd never seen a computer before, and they didn't know what the internet was. I connected high-speed internet to it. It's about 3 feet off the ground, turned it on and left it there. After this, we noticed a couple of interesting things which you'll see, but I repeated this all over India and then through a large part of the world, and noticed that children will learn to do what they want to learn to do. This is the first experiment that we did. 8-year-old boy on your right teaching his student, a 6-year-old girl, and he was teaching her how to browse. This boy here in the middle of central India, this is in a Rajasthan village where the children recorded their own music and then played it back to each other. And in the process, they enjoyed themselves thoroughly. They did all of this in 4 hours after seeing the computer for the first time. In another South Indian village, these boys here had assembled a video camera and were trying to take the photograph of a bumblebee. They had downloaded it from Disney.com or one of these websites 14 days after putting the computer in their village.
It's interesting to see what students can do on their own, without the help or the interference of an outside source. Now let's examine some of the weaker alternatives before us. Provide information, literary courses to enhance computer skills and enable knowledgeable use of digital technologies. By developing online instructional resources, new digital users will be able to learn and access technology on their own time. This is the thought, but it's been shown that people will learn to use what they want to use. A prime example is the TED Talks video we just saw. Why spend the money or the time developing resources for people to just get acquainted with the technology when they can get acquainted with that technology through something of their own interests? Develop free online educational content, giving first priority to content most relevant to lower socioeconomic groups, before content that is relevant to the rest of the public. Why would we be so concerned with content that has to be divergent of socioeconomic class? The TED Talks video is an example of students from different socioeconomic classes learning the same material. Installing computers in all public libraries in the state, and expand the hours when the computers are available. In some areas, digital inequality exists due to the great distance people are from resources. Opening a library that is 1 hour away from the target market is not going to increase usage. If we make an effort to put computers in schools or in people's homes, why are we duplicating this at the libraries? Students are already in traditional environments like the school. Now we're going to ask them to go from the school to the home to the library, or from the school to the library. It's always easy to come up with reasons why you can't do something, but it's almost always more difficult to come up with solutions. So now let's examine some of the strongest alternatives we have before us. The first is to expand staffing and other resources so that public schools can be open to the public after normal school hours, on weekends and during the summer months. Many disadvantaged students only use the computer at school, so increasing the availability and time that students can be at the school will increase the potential technology usage. We know students are there already in the building. Why not provide them with an opportunity to stay longer or do more work? The second is to provide individuals in disadvantaged communities with computers. Some people in areas do not have access to computers due to the affordability of technology. We know that if one member of the family is learning computer skills, they are more likely to teach those skills to the rest of the family. This option makes that possible. In turn, we'd have to provide high-speed internet and mobile access for all state residents. Accessibility as it relates to the availability of services is a major concern. The better the internet connection is, the more things one can do with the technology that they have. The last one is to subsidize internet service providers to provide low-cost internet to all state residences. Affordability of services as it relates to a percentage of one's monthly income varies dramatically between urban and rural settings. This discrepancy increases when we examine this globally. For example, in Calgary, Alberta, my hometown, we have a service provider called Shaw, where you pay $37 a month to access the internet. In Bearspaw, Alberta, Canada, which is 20 minutes away from the city, we pay $67 a month to access the internet. This discrepancy in affordability and cost is magnified when we look at different nations. We have two more alternatives that need to be examined as part of the overall initiative. The first one is to develop online, interactive public education materials that will be accessed across the state in all public schools. By creating public online educational programs and/or courses, students could use the technology to study material when they want, where they want, and how they want. This also provides students the opportunity to access education in a remote setting without having to leave the comfort of their home or their community. To do this, we need to hire instructional designers that can develop rich, engaging, interactive content that is not only text-based, but involves video, audio, interactivities, as well as providing students with an opportunity to enhance their own technology skills in these same areas. To tie into this, we need to develop an initiative to increase the number of blended classroom settings. In a blended classroom, we can bring qualified, passionate teachers to areas where educational specialists may not exist. Communities may not have a great math teacher. By creating a blended setting and online interactive education, we can bring the world's greatest math teacher to any community in the world. We can save money on building new schools and hiring more teachers, because instead of having one teacher with a classroom full of 30 students, that same teacher can have 60 or 90 students on the books. Teaching online allows those students that don't need to come into the building to stay at home, travel, work, or explore another passion. Students that need help can come into the building on any given day. This would provide students with a more personalized approach to learning. And we know that if learning is personal, we are connecting with some of those higher interests that students have.